for you. In Daniel chapter 10, Daniel he fasts for 21 days. For 3 full weeks, he eats no pleasant bread. He just eats a bare diet because he's fasting and praying. And after 21 days, he gets greeted by a heavenly visitor. That heavenly visitor is there to give him 2 chapters of prophecy. Chapters 11 and 12 are in effect given by this visitor to Daniel. But he says something very strange when he arrives. He says when Daniel first started his fast, he was dispatched to go see Daniel. But he was withstood for 21 days, apparently in combat, by somebody that he calls the Prince of the Kingdom of Persia. Now that's not Darius or Cyrus or a human guy. It's the spirit being that's assigned behind the scenes, Satan's lieutenant or whatever. He was withstood 21 days by the Prince of Persia. He explains to Daniel that it's taken him 21 days to get through. He said, I'm going to give you some prophecies in a bit, and then, when I'm all through with you, Daniel, I've got to go back and fight him again, and after him, there'll be, and by the way, he said he couldn't get through the 21 days until Michael, the chief prince, came and helped him. Michael came, and then he got through, and he's now here, Daniel, here's the story. And after you get chapter 11 and 12, in effect, he's now going to have to go back and deal not only with the Prince of Kingdom of Persia, but the Prince of Power of Greece. And that's it. As you study Daniel 10, it's sort of a prelude to 11 and 12, the prophecies, the climactic prophecies of the book of Daniel. The book of 12 chapters, 11 and 12, the last 2 chapters. But as we glimpse this, you can't help when you read that passage, and I encourage you to do so at your leisure. There's a couple of questions you have to ask yourself. What would have happened if Daniel had stopped fasting and praying after, say, 19 days? It doesn't say that there's a linkage, but you can't help but infer that there's somehow some kind of link between his fasting for 21 days and the fact that it took this messenger 21 days to get through. We often say, gee, I don't hear God. Well, maybe it's because we don't fast and pray enough. And by the way, fasting and praying is not just an Old Testament thing. Jesus said that his would, and there's a whole New Testament study you can do on fasting and praying. We're going to move on. There's another case that I love to take. This is one of my favorites. In 2 Kings 6, we have an incident that I love in this area. We use the term spiritual warfare so glibly. Well, I had some spiritual warfare the other day, and I won't, well, yeah. But it's real. In 2 Kings 6, verse 8, the king of Syria, who was against Israel, the king of Syria warred against Israel. And he took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. Right? And the man of God, namely Elisha, sent unto the king of Israel, that's his boss, saying, beware that thou pass not in such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once or twice. In other words, what they're saying is, the Syrians are trying to lay a trap for the king of Israel. But Elisha whispers in his ear and says, hey, don't go there because they're going to set you up. And that doesn't happen once or twice, it happens a lot. In fact, that's the problem. It's happening so regularly, the king of Syria is smelling a rat. Verse 11, it says, therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing. He called the servants and said to them, will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? In other words, he's assuming that one of you guys around my staff table here is a snitch. Which of you is it? How else can the king of Israel constantly second guess what I'm going to do? He's got a pipeline. One of the servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. 2 Kings 6:12. I believe it's the first recorded phone trap in the Bible. So one of the servants, they somehow figured out that the hidden weapon, the secret weapon of the king of Israel was his prophet. He's got his prophet. He's got a gift. So what does the king of Israel do? He said, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, behold, he's in Dothan. Therefore sent he, that is the king of Assyria, he sent thither horses and chariots and a great host. Sent out his rangers and his Spetsnaz and his KSKs and SAS team and all his commandos, whatever. And a great host. And they came by night and compassed the city round. Okay? And I love this. This is such fun. When the servant of the man of God, Elisha has his orderly, or whatever you call him, When the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, a host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. That must have rattled the guy. He got up early in the morning and he looked out and he realized they're surrounded by troops, hostile troops. The servant said unto Elisha, Alas, my master, how shall we do? I mean, what are we going to do now? Elisha, and I always visualize him being very, almost impatient. Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. There's nothing like a good platitude to comfort the soul, right? That must have been that hymn. And I infer that the steward, the servant of Elisha, wasn't too satisfied with that rather platitudinal answer. So Elisha prays, and here I see him exasperated. He said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes so that he might see. Let him take a peek, Lord, you know. The Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and guess what? The mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire around Elisha. Very thrilling little story. And yet, we need to recognize that this is not just a little story, it really happened. Can you imagine that servant looking around? Lifted the veil, and he realized they were protected by chariots of fire. And that isn't some kind of colorful, comforting superstition. That's the real reality. That's one reason I enjoy particle physics so much, because we realize today, if you understand physics, we're in a simulation. This isn't really solid. We're in a simulation. The real reality is not the... If you've been in our Learn the Bible in 24 hours, as we take in Genesis, we talk about the 10 dimensions, how that we're split from 4 to 6, 4 that we still can reach, 6 that are not directly accessible anymore. We call it the spiritual world. Yeah, but that's the real reality. Anyway, we'll move on here. What's our imperative? Paul goes on with this. He says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. That is a command. It's an imperative mood. It's a command. It is in the present tense. Be continually strong. It's in the passive voice. You receive the action. You don't be strengthened. Your strength is his strength. You receive his strength. Be strong in the Lord. Now, our imperative, twice Paul says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. We're up against the wiles of the devil. And that's it, the whole armor of God is the issue. You've got to be completely armed, not just your favorite pieces, the whole thing. And you've got to put it on before the battle begins. And by the way, the battle's already started. For many people, it started, as far as their awareness is concerned, September 11th of 2001. But we're in a battle. And it's not a battle against Islam. It's a battle that's supernatural. And again, he says in verse 13, you're taking on the whole armor of God so you may be able to withstand